The leopard cannot change its spots, but when cornered, it fights back with all its might, a timeless African wisdom that speaks to the unyielding spirit of resistance in the face of perceived injustice. In Nigeria's southeast, this adage comes alive as the Indigenous People of Biafra has declared a region-wide shutdown on Monday, February 2, 2026, in solidarity with traders affected by the Anambra state government's one-week closure of Onitsha Main Market, while renewing demands for the unconditional release of their detained leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. This announcement escalates an already tense standoff, positioning the lockdown as a voluntary act of collective defiance against what IPOB describes as economic warfare, aimed at suppressing their ongoing protests. On confirmed street news, na wetin we hear with a report, but be sure say na confirm. Abeg support this channel by subscribing and liking this video. The declaration was made in a statement released on Friday, January 30, by IPOB's Media and Publicity Secretary, Emma Powerful. It frames the shutdown as a Biafra-wide solidarity action, urging residents across Anambra, Abia, Imo, Enugu, Ebonyi, and other parts of the former Eastern region to suspend economic and public activities for the day. This includes traders, transport operators, banks, schools, civil servants, and other sectors staying indoors. The move directly responds to Governor Chukwuma Soludo's decision announced during an unscheduled visit to Onitsha Main Market on Monday, January 26, to shut it down for a week after observing continued non-compliance with the state's directive to end the Monday sit-at-home observances. Soludo had warned that persistent defiance would lead to a one-month closure starting February 2, along with potential revocations of land allocations, demolitions, and other sanctions. IPOB justifies the lockdown not as an enforcement tactic, but as a spontaneous voluntary expression of outrage from the people, emphasizing that the market closure punishes traders whose livelihoods are at stake and represents an attack on the broader Biafran community. If these escalating tensions in the southeast, where calls for justice collide with efforts to restore normalcy, keep you tuned in for more, hit that like button, share your perspective in the comments on how to bridge such divides, and subscribe with notifications on to catch every development in real time. To understand the depth of this conflict, we must revisit the roots of the sit-at-home tradition which IPOB initiated in 2021 as a form of civil disobedience to protest Kanu's detention on charges related to his advocacy for Biafran self-determination. Kanu, arrested in Kenya and extradited to Nigeria that year, remains in custody amid ongoing legal battles, with his supporters viewing his imprisonment as emblematic of broader marginalization in the southeast. The weekly Monday closures evolved from targeted protests into a habitual practice driven by lingering security fears and solidarity, despite claims from state authorities like Soludo that conditions have improved sufficiently to warrant full economic resumption. Onitsha Main Market, one of Africa's largest commercial hubs, has been a focal point, with its traders' reluctance to fully reopen on Mondays, symbolizing the persistence of these underlying grievances. The government's push to abolish the sit-at-home aims to unlock economic potential in a region reliant on trade, but IPOB argues that such measures ignore the core issue, Kanu's release, which they see as essential to restoring genuine peace and voluntary compliance.
In their statement, IPOB strongly condemns Soludo's actions as punitive and economically destructive, accusing him of waging war against the people by targeting a market that sustains countless families without government support. They highlight that the sit-at-home is a peaceful, non-violent protest, not economic sabotage or criminality, and that the lockdown is a unified response to defend traders' rights. The group reiterates their commitment to non-violence, urging participants to remain law-abiding and avoid confrontations, while warning of potential false flag operations designed to discredit their cause. IPOB maintains that their agitation is centered on dialogue and a referendum for Biafran self-determination, positioning the shutdown as a call for justice rather than disruption. On the government side, Soludo has framed the closure as necessary to break the cycle of self-inflicted economic harm, insisting that no law mandates Monday shutdowns and that the market as state property must exemplify adherence to policies promoting security and growth. The implications of this declaration are multifaceted and potentially far-reaching. Politically, it challenges Soludo's authority in Anambra and could strain relations between state governments and federal authorities, giving IPOB's proscribed status and the national security overlay of separatist activities. By tying the lockdown to Kanu's release, IPOB amplifies pressure on the judiciary and executive, potentially influencing ongoing legal proceedings. Socially, the action risks deepening community divisions, with some residents supporting the solidarity as a stand against perceived overreach, while others may resent further disruptions to daily life in a region already burdened by economic strains. Economically, a full shutdown could exacerbate short-term losses, affecting trade, transportation, and services across the Southeast, where markets like Onitsha drive regional commerce and contribute to national supply chains. On the security front, while IPOB stresses non-violence, the potential for misinterpretation or opportunistic unrest remains, especially if enforcement clashes occur, underscoring the delicate balance between protest rights and public order in volatile areas. Public reactions have begun to surface, with some traders and residents expressing alignment with IPOB's justification, viewing the market closure as an unfair collective punishment that ignores their fears and hardships. Others, including business associations and pro-government voices, counter that prolonging shutdowns only harm the very communities IPOB claims to protect, advocating instead for dialogue to address security concerns without economic self-harm. This split reflects broader perspectives in the Southeast, one emphasizing resilience and resistance to external pressures, the other prioritizing stability and integration to foster development. Looking ahead, Monday's shutdown will serve as a litmus test for IPOB's influence and public sentiment. If participation is widespread and peaceful, it might compel Soludo to engage in talks with traders or reconsider enforcement strategies, potentially leading to compromises like enhanced security measures to build confidence. However, low turnout or incidents could weaken IPOB's position, allowing the government to press forward with reopenings and sanctions. The renewed focus on Kanu's release suggests possible escalations in advocacy, including legal appeals or international pressure as a pathway to de-escalate regional tensions. Long-term, resolving such conflicts may require multifaceted approaches, blending security improvements with socio-economic initiatives to address root grievances and encourage voluntary shifts away from protest-driven disruptions. As we watch this narrative of resistance and reform play out in the Southeast, it highlights the enduring quest for justice amid everyday struggles. If this exploration has you contemplating the path to peace, show your support, give it a like, let me know in the comments what steps could ease these tensions, and subscribe for more balanced insights into stories shaping Nigeria. Thank you for tuning in. Stay informed, stay thoughtful, and we'll bring you updates as they develop. Take care.